report from the Physicians for Human Rights. It claims the Trump administration's asylum-seeking policies are inflicting trauma on migrants. The policy was put in place by Homeland Security Secretary Kevin McAleenan, who resigned on Friday. CBS News has learned the Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP, also known as Remain in Mexico, have been expanded. It now requires all asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for the duration of their court proceedings. Mireya Villarreal spoke with some of the migrants and those trying to help them in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico.
Some people, if they are identified as migrants in the streets, they might be kidnapped.
It's that dangerous here?
Yeah, it's that dangerous.
Dr. Fabiola Pintado with Doctors Without Borders says more than half the asylum seekers they've spoken to have been victims of some sort of violence. Migrant Protection Protocols, also referred to as MPP or Remain in Mexico, took effect in January and so far has required 51,000 people seeking asylum in the U.S. to wait in Mexico for their hearings.
Do you believe that this program is protecting them?
It's not safe for people to come back to Mexico and wait for asylum. That's for sure.
We're closing the loopholes.
Acting Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner Mark Morgan credits the program for a decrease in enforcement action.
With MPP, migrants are receiving due process and protection while the United States is restoring integrity to our immigration system.
We embedded with Doctors Without Borders in Nuevo Laredo, Mexico to see MPP up close.
So right now we're heading to one of the shelters where there are a lot of migrants in the MPP program, and I expect that they will probably be on edge here because this is one of the locations where the director was himself a victim of a kidnapping.
This Honduran woman is part of the program and told us her husband was kidnapped when they got sent back to Mexico. He was eventually released because they didn't have money to give his kidnappers.
She is stuck because it's very difficult in her home country, and here it's just as bad. What has the program done for this city?
I think that they were not prepared. 99% of crimes are never solved.
Daniel Rosa is a local journalist in Nuevo Laredo who's covered the violence in Mexico for 20 years and more recently has been following the issues these migrants are facing.
What makes migrants so vulnerable?
They have no family, they have no papers. The authorities don't respect them, so they can be extorted.
According to a new report by Physicians for Human Rights, U.S. policies have stranded asylum seekers in Mexico where they are vulnerable to violence, theft, and extortion by cartels, gangs, and police authorities. The group says 12 out of the 15 asylum seekers they spoke to showed signs of post-traumatic stress disorder, and children are not immune.
It might actually look like these kids are just coloring, but what they're doing is a special exercise to teach them what parts of their body people can and can't touch, and also who they can trust.
I've seen people being kidnapped twice.
Felipe Reyes is a psychologist. He's treated asylum seekers for everything from depression to PTSD.
How long could these symptoms last?
It can last a lifetime.
We caught up with the mayor of Nuevo Laredo, and he insists that these migrants are safe and the violence in his city is under control. For CBS This Morning, Saturday, Mireya Villarreal in Laredo, Texas.
Such a difficult issue.
Heartbreaking to look at the looks in the faces of the kids.
Yeah, no, and PTSD, that is serious mental health issue #1 for them.